Hi guys, Gail Sylvester here. Today I have Brook Dyson with me from Edward Jones, and we're going to actually talk a little bit more about the differences between TFSA and RSP and why one is more beneficial than the other. I know it's going to be subject to the client, and it always is, same with mortgages. But what are the basics that clients would need to know as to which avenue they should go? So maybe let's even backtrack, and I'll say the young client who's starting out, right? They've just finished school, kind of thing. Maybe they've got their first car loan and they've got their career. And it's like, where would we guide them in terms of between TFSA and RSP?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gail. It's a question that we get asked a lot. And the
Awesome.
answer, we give right away beyond, really does depend for each client and their personal tax situation, all this stuff. But it's actually more important to get saving, get that money put away, and then we'll help you figure out what bucket to put into. Is it a TFSA? Is it an RSP? Is it something else? But the most important fact is to get that money saved and put away. Then you figure out the bucket. Then you figure out the investment. In terms of generally TFSA and RSP, it does depend on the individual circumstance of each person. But the difference is, if you think of them like they're both like shoe boxes where you can put money into, and you can buy investments in those shoe boxes. You can do pretty much the same thing inside of both of them. The difference is in how they're treated tax-wise. So a tax-free savings account is, you have $1,000 to invest. You put that into the tax-free savings account. It just goes in there. You invest. There's no benefits right away to putting it in there, but you put it in there today, it grows. You invest it, 15 years down the line, you sell the investment, and you pull the money out. When you sell it, there's no tax, like there's no capital gain tax. And when you pull the money out, there's no income tax on there. So if you took that same money and put it into an RSP account, so you take the 1,000, put it in, invest it, you'd get a tax slip for $1,000. You use that on your tax return to bring your income down in that year that you did it. So you made $1,000 less that year, according to CRA. Still grows. You sell it, 15 years down the road, whatever's in there, you sell that investment. You don't pay tax on it, just like the TFSA. But when you pull that money out of the RSP, you're going to get taxed like it's income, like you're giving yourself a paycheck. And that tax rate depends on what your personal tax rate is at that time in that year. So the thinking is you put it in when you have higher income and you pull it out when you got lower income, which is generally retirement.
Retirement, right.
Yeah. So you can put the same investments in there. It's just you either get taxed on the way out or you don't get a benefit on the way in. So your scenario at the beginning, a younger, newer investor, if their income is relatively, lower than what they think it's going to be down the road here, or they're using this money to buy a house or whatever, generally the tax-free savings account will be the first place you look. Again, it depends on your individual circumstance. But then there's no tax when you pull it out down the road, right? So, but if you have high income, pretty high income, and you want to save, there's benefits to maybe you choose the RSP route for that cash to get your current year's income down.
And we also know with the RSP, as the first-time home buyer, they can borrow up to $35,000 out of their RSP, and that can come out tax sheltered, right? So there's no withholding tax, and then they have 15 years to pay it back.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the big confusion is people don't understand how to pay that back into the RSP.
Yeah, it's like you're technically borrowing it from yourself, and the way you pay it back, it's really just it's how you designate things on your tax return for the year. And if you don't pay it back in those 15 years, the government just says, okay, you should have paid yourself back, so we're going to ding you and say, we're going to modify your taxes so it looks like you did pull it out of the RSP.
Right.
So
But they kind of add that portion to income, right? So say for talking sake, if you had to pay back $1,000 that year because you borrowed, like if say you had 15,000 to borrow, right? So you got to pay back 1,000 every year. And if you don't pay that 1,000, we just add that 1,000 as income that year, and that's what you're going to pay tax on. It's not a huge deal, but it's a misunderstanding, and it's like some people don't understand how.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slap on the wrist to make sure you do save and you do put it back, right? Like
absolutely, right.
The government
absolutely.
wants you to replace what you've done.
Right.
But again, it's your taxes and it's your individual tax situation. But it's if you do the home buyer's plan, if you have done it in the past, you should be paying it off over the next 15 years. You can pay it off early if you want.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You can take the whole 15 if you want to.
And the nice part is, so say they had their RSPs at a bank kind of thing. They don't have to put it back into the bank. They could actually work with yourself and put it back into the RSP as long as it's an RSP plan, right?
Yeah. You can have, more than one RSP. You have more than one TFSA. You just got to keep track of personally what your limits are and whatnot, and your your home buyer's plan payback, that sort of thing. Yeah,
and then make sure your portfolio is balanced too. So that's always helpful too.
Yeah, that's a larger conversation, and
we'll talk about that another day. Absolutely.
That's once you get the money. Again, you got to save the money first, and then you start making sure you're doing the right things with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was perfect. Thank you so much. That was super helpful, and I know that'll help a lot of the viewers that are looking today. So thanks. Thanks again for your time, Brook. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how are they going to reach out to you?
You can find us on the web, Brook Dyson, Edward Jones. You'll find all of our contact info there, or 905-319-1522.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Thanks for your time. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Gail.
Okay, bye.